Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. So we have the first month in the books for Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. Let's look at the sales numbers and see how it compares to other games, and we can talk a little about the live stream from the other day. I will link to my video about the first week sales, and I'll link to my community tab where I live blogged the live stream. I will also turn comments on for this video because I want to hear how people like the game. Have you picked up the game since my last video? Or have you dropped the game since then? Or have you moved from free-to-play to paid, or vice versa? And then tell me why. I want to know. Okay, but first, let's get straight to the numbers. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis made a little under 5 million USD. That is lower than I projected in my Week 1 sales video. Also released this month was Power Pro. That took in about 6 million, and that was only during 8 days, basically. And then Dot Hero took in 9 million. And then compared to some other games, which I talked about earlier, Arc Knights had a strong month of about 5 million. Not their best by a long shot, but solid for them. And then Nikke, who had the Automata collaboration, they took in about 15 million USD. And then Dragon Quest Walk, that is Square Enix's best game right now, took in 20 million. That's pretty crazy. I saw some debate about the sales of Final Fantasy versus Dragon Quest, and yeah, Dragon Quest really is a special thing here in Japan, and it does have a kind of a place in the minds of the people that Final Fantasy does not. Like, almost all kids know what Dragon Quest is, but it's really only the adults that are familiar with Final Fantasy here. And yeah, as we can see, it's definitely translating to better sales for the Dragon Quest mobile game. Okay, and then we have Honkai, Star Rail, and Genshin, taken in 17 and 12 million, respectively. And then, as I talked about in my State of Japanese Mobile Gaming, we have the once-in-the-generation hit Uma Musume, taken in 37 million USD. And then, the other type of successful mobile game, the old guard, Monster Strike, taken in 40 million. Just can't stop these games. And I feel bad for even mentioning it, but Nier Reincarnation took in about 400k USD for the month, which is its second worst month ever, and then it doesn't even appear in the charts overseas. People that are telling you the game is doing great are lying to you. But also I can show the charts for Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis around the world. These are the rankings in their respective app stores, I believe. Here we can see America, that's in third place. For the month, it's barely in the top 200. For the week, it's rank 250. So yeah, as usual, the Japanese sales are carrying the game. Alright, in my last video, the 1 week report, I talked about comparing the debuts of Nier Reincarnation and Ever Crisis. Reincarnation took in 7 million the debut months, and that's adjusting for the awful exchange rate of the yen right now. At the time, it was more like 9 million, so yeah, Reincarnation definitely had the better debut than Ever Crisis. But listening to Tetsuya Nomura at the Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis livestream, he seemed somewhat satisfied with the sales of Ever Crisis. Again, Square Enix is in reputation rebuild mode, so they really can't expect 8-digit sales numbers outside of their Dragon Quest titles. But yeah, they absolutely scheduled Sephiroth for the end of the month to goose the sales a bit and make their first month look better. One thing I noticed, or didn't notice rather, is no one is saying battle sucks and is boring in Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. I talked about this in the last video, but Nier Reincarnation set the wrong expectations before launch, so when people went in expecting Automata, and instead getting the active time battle system, people did not accept the game on its own terms, and people said the game was shallow and deceptive, and the game quickly got a bad reputation. Ever Crisis set closer to the appropriate expectations before launch, so adoption has gone much more smoothly, I feel. Sales are lower, just for so many other factors, but I want to say that with this solid adoption of the battle system, this will hopefully lead to better long-term performance. So, that's the performance of Ever Crisis the first month. I don't expect I will make a video every month as the game goes along, but if something catches my attention, I might. I want to do the live blog for the next live stream because I am hoping they talk about a collaboration and I'm interested in how they implement it into the game. But after that, I will not live blog Ever Crisis anymore. Speaking of that first livestream, I looked at a bunch of other livestream recaps in English, and they were all pretty much just reading the slides that appeared on screen, sometimes incorrectly at that, and I was the only one translating what they were saying, and I can share what I picked up there. Story arcs are based on games in the Final Fantasy VII universe, and when one game completes its original story, another game will begin. So for example, when Crisis Core ends, Dirge of Cerebus or something will begin, that kind of thing. That might have been information released elsewhere, but it was the first I had heard of it, so I included it. Also, soon in-game there will be a level cap break to go above level 50, but they didn't include it now, because the developers are assuming people will be busy working on the brand new Sephiroth. They don't want to make users have too much to do. And there is the ranking dungeon event going on now, and in the livestream they mentioned they prepared an extra safe server to prevent hacking and cheating. This is important because your average user wants to feel secure that the time and money they are putting into the game is going to properly be reflected in their performance. The hackers and cheaters don't understand, or perhaps don't care, that their actions hurt the community as a whole, even if it isn't PvP. So the developers want to make the effort to keep their competitions as fair as possible, and consequently improve sales and installed user base and playtime. And finally, Tetsuya Nomura revealed the inspiration behind the naming of Matt, Glenn, and Lutia. They had the meetings, of course, about the naming, but finally Mr. Nomura was drinking some green matcha tea and took it from there. Glenn, Matt, Lutia, green matcha tea. Lutia became Lucia in the English, so that connection is lost, but it was originally there. Okay, that'll do it for this video. Solid start to Ever Crisis. We'll see if the developers can keep it up. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.